It's party time. Hey, it's time to wipe the weekend off your face. That's right. It is Monday. Eric July is in the hot seat. Welcome to the show, Eric. And, of course, Puppet Master, Super Chris Cruz, and Let's Love Brandon are all at the helm driving us into the nether regions of all things insanity. And it is an insane world. First things first, obviously the Buffalo shooting. I hate talking about that stuff because it kind of feels like one more trip around the same old deal, and nobody ever wants to deal with the real issue, which to me is mental illness.
Yeah.
And, you look at this because the kid was like, 18 years old, right?
Uh-huh.
And at some point in time, when does a parent look into a kid's eyes and go, something's not right?
Yeah, that's, I guess you have a lot of parents that are actually probably children themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's a big part of it. But, yeah, I mean, you see definitely with this youngsters, the amount of other issues that, he obviously had going on that were tracked. And it seemed to go at least somewhat unaddressed until obviously it finally blew up. But that's a big part of it. It's like people that are mentally unstable. And unfortunately, with America's case, like culturally, the way we've kind of, even just various forms of mental illness, how we approach it, it's like a more kumbaya kind of element as opposed to actually addressing it and dealing with it directly. It's like, well, that person is okay the way they are. And it's like, are they? You know what I mean? And unfortunately, it's only until it's too late when we finally acknowledge the fact that, okay, maybe it was something like disastrously wrong with that person. So it's not even just in the element of what we're dealing with here. It's also, you can see that with like suicide aspects as well.
Yeah, weird kind of thing happened. Yesterday, Sunday, was my buddy Steve Helms, the Texas legend's birthday, turned 100. And we took him out. We went to Fort Worth bar that I like to go to. And I won't say the name of it. Those who know. But I go in there, and the bartender starts telling us a story about something that happened on Saturday.
Yeah.
She said this guy comes in, and him and his girlfriend, and they just started mouthing off and just going at her, going at the patrons in the bar and stuff. And he threatened to shoot her. Like he was sitting there, and he'd like lift his thing like he was carrying. Yeah. And then he said, she's like, you got to go. You got to get out of here. So anyway, I wasn't there, so I can't say everything that happened because I don't know. But I just know from her story that then he started screaming, saying he was going to shoot her. He's going to come back in and shoot everybody in the bar and stuff like that. They called the police, and, of course, they picked him up going up the road, and he wasn't carrying anything. But I'm hearing this story sitting there at the bar trying to watch the Mavs game last night, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll be right back. Go out to the truck, grab my tactical fanny pack of death, and come back in there. And because I'm like, you don't know when somebody's going to come back. But at what point in time do you what happened? Is the guy get a slap on the wrist and they turn him loose? Do they hang on to him for a while? I mean, what do you do?
That's the thing. I think that's the most difficult part of it, because even when you look at, in this case, you look at it like, I believe they said that, well, I don't know if it was the FBI specifically, but some of those alphabet organizations are actually looking into this. Yeah. Kid, and he had threatened before, to my knowledge, of other sort of dangers. And what happened out of that, I don't exactly know. And like liberty, I don't want to say it comes with a set of consequences. It's a beautiful thing, but you have to allow people some sort of freedom to act regardless. I mean, it doesn't matter how deranged you might actually think that they are. I think this is why it's so important to more so talk about how people can defend themselves in the event that something like this does happen, because you can't account for that. But yeah, of course, I'd much rather have liberty than some sort of state saying nobody can have anything. You have to walk the line upon which we desire for you. I'd rather have liberty, but because we don't talk about those elements of like, self-defense and people being in a position, like everywhere I go, I carry, being in a position because I don't want to be a victim. Unfortunately, people look at that like you threatening them. And then it's not until it hits the fan where someone goes crazy and the people that are around are basically defenseless that people start taking more into consideration their own means of defense. Unfortunately, people have to be traumatized for that. How many women have you seen? Well, this news story happened to this woman, and I don't want to be caught like that, so now I'm gonna go, get armed. Unfortunately, that's the kick in the butt that so many people need, because you cannot. It's impossible, literally impossible, to prevent every single act of violence, definitely upon innocent people. So what's the best case scenario? Well, for you to be in a position to, if you're around and something like that happens, you can at least deal with it.
Well, and that was, got to put the dog back over here. She's rambunctious. Anyway, so I came in I came back in there. I didn't say what I was going to get. The guy just, there were people in the bar last night who heard me talking about it, and, legally you're not supposed to carry a gun in a bar or whatever. Right. And I was like, I come back in with the tactical fanny pack of death.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, you can't have that in the bar. And I said, but I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. But why is that even I look at it like, I get it. You got people around drinking, and you don't want folks, people can be out of their minds when they're drinking. But in the same respects, it's like, would you have rather had that if something popped off?
I mean, you got a dude just threatened to come in here and shoot the place up.
Exactly.
The night before.
Exactly. So something pops off. Yeah. And you don't want to be, like I said, my band has a song where I specifically say I'd rather have it and not need it than need it, and I happen to have it.
Right.
Because that's my philosophy. It's like, I get it. I understand certainly why a lot of these areas have these rules. It's unfortunately why a lot of places that tend to have these sorts of issues are what they deem as more gun-free zones. They have strict rules upon who can't use it. I'm not saying that this is what happened in this case. I'm saying, historically speaking, it happens a lot more often. You don't hear about stuff like this happening, let's say, at a gun show, for the most part, because somebody's gonna get put down before they are a threat to everybody else. But you can't prevent anything. And to your point that you mentioned earlier, well, you can't prevent everything. But to your point, there is a significant issue regarding mental health in this country, and it's going unaddressed. We're coddling a lot of people that have these issues. We're promoting it in a lot of cases. And at some point, when does the problem actually get addressed by those that actually want a solution? I do think that there are bad actors out there that have no desire for there to be one.
Right.
If there's a perpetual problem, they can present themselves as the perpetual solution.
Right.
A lot of folks, there's a lot of money to be made in various ways of activism. However, with something like this or anything remotely like it, and you have evidence of someone going through some stuff, you know what I mean? And it basically goes completely unaddressed before that person, until that person blows up. I'm not going to say that culturally we're culpable of something like that happening, but let me say this. We're not fostering an atmosphere that wants to actually deal with the problem.
Yeah. Well, and, the video was out there. I mean, it was almost like looking at a first-person shooter video game, the way he shot that thing. And, in the video, I was amazed that it stayed up in places as long as it did. So, first of all, and I haven't read the manifesto. I was talking to some folks who have, and I was listening to my friend Brandon Tatum this morning on the radio talking a little bit about it. And anybody that, again, he claimed to be a liberal. Mm-hmm. He claimed to be, all these different things. And then now everybody's wanting to put it on Tucker Carlson's, they're blaming Tucker Carlson for all this stuff, which is just the mental gymnastics that people go through to try to get to this stuff.
Yeah.
Just insanity. But anybody that comes in and that claims of like white supremacy or something like that, I already know you're mentally ill, right? With stuff like that. There she goes. She got the courage up and did it.
Finally.
She got down. She couldn't stand it no more.
Finally.
I mean, when you're only 2 inches tall and you jump off the chair. Yeah. Good job, Biscuit. She couldn't stand it. Anyway, but you're already dealing with some levels of mental illness.
Yes.
But it's sad deal. And, I hate hearing about those kind of things, but, people need to protect themselves. They do.
100%.
And there needs to be, get the training, get the equipment, get the training, get comfortable with it. It's a sad deal.
Well, I mean, ultimately, the person that is going to be most responsible for your well-being is going to be yourself at the end of the day. And I think that you have seen, definitely during the summer of love 2020, a lot of folks started to kind of change their positions on it. Even people that were historically leftist about gun ownership and wanting to be able to carry, because they were seeing their cities be burned to the ground. And like I said earlier, that it takes that getting that close to home to be in those positions to kind of warrant a change, because so many people are just stuck in their ways and they think that they're advocating something that's politically maybe expedient for them, but in turn, like, how many lives are we costing by really advocating ideals that are antithetical to self-defense? As in, like, they want, if you leave it up to the authoritarian left, and again, it's not about this individual situation, it's just in general, if it were up to them, you'd be completely dependent on an external factor to defend yourself. And I've never liked that, but I especially don't like it as that level of uncertainty with this country continues to amplify. But if they had it their way, you'd be dead in the water in the event that something hits the fan. Like, and I know I've been in scary situations. I know people that obviously have been in scary situations like that where you are literally defenseless. I just I wouldn't wish that upon anybody else, and I certainly wouldn't want that for myself.
I want to be able to throw something back.
Yes. Even if I go down, at the end of the day, I want to be able to go
throw
down.
Something back.
Fight.
And, if you're ever in a situation like that, you're going to get arrested. If you shoot somebody, even if it's in self-defense, you're going to get arrested.
That's the part that sucks.
You're going to have to cooperate with the police. You're going to have to put your firearm away and assume the position and wait. There's a lot of things with that adrenaline pumping. There's a lot of crazy things that can go on, and people perceive you as the aggressor in that situation.
But I think that goes to the point of what kind of culture we've manifested. I've been very critical of even conservatives in their point on like how we kind of deal with, it's like, not we as in me as been like, I'm not a conservative, but you get what it is that I'm saying, where you have folks that follow the law all the time. It's this approach, and I'm like, a lot of these laws are rigged against us. Like, why do you have to consider that? Why is it that I can't just defend myself, but I have to look at it like, dang, okay, in the event I'm going to have to go through all of these hoops. It's going to be a very stressful period of time, not because the event itself, if you ever have to shoot someone, it's probably going to be stressful in itself. But it's this added level because of the state and how it different areas have different rules. That's when is it okay for you? I mean, we know plenty of people. You might know plenty of people that are in jail for defending themselves, but because of the way the law is structured, they did it too well. Let's say that. Or someone had possession of a gun. And they weren't supposed to because of like stuff like that, which really there's a lot of folks that won't defend themselves because of that. It's like, well, if I do, I'm going to get penalized for it.
Right.
And I don't think we do nearly enough to try to get rid of the ones that are on the books right now. I mean, all we do for the most part, those of us that advocate gun rights, is defend ourselves from what the left is trying to advocate right now. So let's say they're trying to have some sort of capacity ban of a magazine or something, like much of what you have in California. It's always playing on the defense of that. But I'm like, look at what we have right there that's on the books right now. Look at the National Firearms Act. Why are we getting on the offense and trying to get rid of those which don't do anything but criminalize people that are trying to, really act on their God-given right?
Yeah. I mean, I usually have a Kel-Tec KSG 12 gauge pump with 15 shells in it in the back of my truck. Not usually, I always have it. I was trying to figure out how to get that in the bar last night. I was like,
I tell you, I bet nothing goes down in that bar with someone walking around one of them bad boys.
Wrong spot. But and again, we've created, and we got to go to break, but we've created this culture where, now we got to talk about his manifesto. We got to talk about his life. We got to talk about, and I'm like, what if they just brought him out there in the street? He did it. You put a bullet in the back of his head, and that's the end of the story. Televise that.
No.
That's kind of where I'm at on the whole.
It'll stop. I bet it'll shy a lot of people away from doing it again.
Significantly. Anyway, sad situation. 60% of U.S. pork production comes from one company, and it's owned by the Chinese. Their hogs are given something called ractopamine, which is banned in 160 countries, including China. Yet you find it in your grocery aisle every day. There's a better way, folks. I'd like to tell you about my friends over at Moink. That's moo plus oink, Moink. Moink delivers grass-fed, grass-finished beef, lamb, pastured pork, and chicken, and sustainable wild-caught Alaskan salmon straight to your door. Moink farmers farm like our grandparents did, and as a result, Moink meat tastes like it should because the family farm does it better. The Moink difference is a difference you will taste, and you can feel good knowing you're helping family farms stay financially independent as well. You choose the meat delivered in every single box: ribeyes, chicken breasts, pork chops, salmon fillets, a whole lot more. And you can cancel it at any time, but you're not going to want to. Kevin O'Leary of Shark Tank called Moink's bacon the best bacon he's ever tasted. Ring Doorbell founder Jamie Siminoff jumped at the chance to invest in Moink. Keep American farming going by signing up at moinkbox.com/Chad. You can do it right now, and listeners of this show get free. What are we giving away, ribeyes? No. Or fillets? Filet mignon every order for a year. That's 1 year of the best filet mignon you'll ever taste, but for a limited time. moinkbox.com, moinkbox.com/Chad, moinkbox.com/Chad. Back with Eric July in a minute. I will tell you, though, I saw the clip of one of the Buffalo residents, and that was a pretty interesting statement that he made, and a lot of people have probably seen it. Let's just play it right now. Play that clip.
It's ridiculous. Something has to change from the bottom to the top, because they're not going to do nothing. We got to do something, because this is ridiculous. I feel bad for the people that was in there, because after the security guard got shot, he got a gun shooting people still. If more people were armed and knew what they were doing with a gun, because it's not the gun, it's the person with the gun that don't know how to act.
Yeah. Not the gun, it's the person with the gun. I mean, kind of what we've been saying. And that's a black dude wearing a shirt that said Black King.
Yeah. Doesn't get more blacker than that.
I mean, he ought to have an authority on being black. Wearing a Black King shirt.
Not false information though.
No, he's not wrong. I agree with it. Remember, this is New York State. That's one of the strictest gun laws in the nation. So let's change over to something we'd like to talk. First of all, before we go to a topic that Eric and I enjoy, which is comics, and gays. Let's, because these days you can't talk about anything without talking about gays.
That's true. That's very true.
The Kamala Harris clip where she can't stop saying "work together."
Oh man, it's so
Will
good.
you play that, please?
That is especially true when it comes to the climate crisis, which is why we will work together and continue to work together to address these issues, to tackle these challenges, and to work together as we continue to work, operating from the new norms, rules, and agreements that we will convene to work together on to galvanize global action. With that, I thank you all. This is a matter of urgent priority for all of us, and I know we will work on this together.
We're going to work together.
Oh, Biscuit, we're going to work together. It's like they give her a phrase, or she gets a phrase in her head, and that's just she's stuck on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, they talk about climate crisis, right? We're going to work together to solve this urgent crisis. This is like Apollo 13, like the men are stuck in the capsule up there in the middle of space, and we got to get them back somehow. Mm-hmm. She's talking about the oceans rising and the sky falling, and we got to work together. Anyway, she's an idiot. I've kind of been enjoying. I've kind of become a fan of Bill Maher's show. Not Bill Maher himself, but I like this show. I think it's a well-produced. Do you ever watch it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a well-produced show. I think it's a well-written show. And it's funny, whether you agree with him or not, it's funny. But there's a lot of common sense on it. But yesterday I was watching it, yesterday morning, and he had all the different pride flags that were up there. There's like 96 of them now. Did you see that? And he was talking about all the ones that they should have, like I took screenshots. I put it on my Instagram. It's like, if you got a latex fetish, there's a flag for that. I mean, these are legitimate flags.
Jesus Christ.
Like if what was it? Sapiosexual, if you're attracted to intelligent people. I mean, there was was it canisexual? You only get turned on if the dog's watching. That was one of the made up ones, right? He came up with all this stuff. So I think it's funny that, you had the rainbow flag. Now there's whatever.
Yeah.
Literally 30 different flags. Everybody's got a flag. I need a flag. I like tight ass and big titties. What kind of sexual is that, Chris? Normal.
Hetero.
It's called normal, red-blooded American male sexual. That's what that is. Good point.
I think what you described.
Yeah. I'm a merisexual.
I'm merisexual.
Yeah.
Is you just put the American flag. That's the American flag with just big titties.
Merisexual.
Oh. Send applications to Chris, kcruz@blazemedia.com. Anyway, so we made reference to the comics. So Pride Month is coming up, which is June, right? So DC, their DC 2022 Pride celebrations available at your local comic shop. They're going full blown. I saw your post on Instagram about Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Who said the issues were kind of written into storylines, but they never went full bore into like, we're going to make this whole book about this. Right. What the hell is going on now?
Well, you have a bunch of activists who are pretending to be writers. They are all really the only ones that are getting these jobs for the mainstream comic books. And to your point, like I covered Stan Lee and what his position was on this, and he explicitly stated, he said, he put social issues underlaying the plot, but he never wanted the audience to like beat him over the head with any of these sorts of narratives. That was his approach, and that's why it worked as well as it did back then. Whereas to now, I think it's not just the fact that it's so insanely social political. It's also that there's no balance. It's only presenting one side as if they are the good guys. Yeah. So they'll do stuff like this. They'll do anything that's in the cause of social justice. You get a whole line of that type of material. But it's not like they're going to present.
So there's no real gay supervillains?
No. There's no, certainly no.
Just walks around sticking things in your butt.
Though, and then when they do turn them, like, let's say, gay, they of course have to be more so good, or at least morally gray and
anti-hero.
The anti, like the now Harley Quinn's not a villain anymore. She's more of an anti-hero and stuff because she's bisexual now because of reasons. But that's the way that they present this sort of stuff. So you're getting a whole month. DC isn't the only one doing it. Marvel's doing it as well, where they justify, like DC is doing something where that's why I hate multiverses, but they're doing this whole multiversal like Teen Justice. So for those of you that know, like the Teen Justice, which has generally been more associated with like Robin, and you had like Starfire and all those that were part of kind of their own little element of the youngsters version of the Justice League, which is really all that it ever was. Whereas to now they're doing it, and they basically race swapped or gender swapped all of them, and they're all gay. Like literally everyone. You have non-binary, or like whatever you talked about different versions of the flag. You have like a non-binary Flash who goes by they them. Okay. Right, and apparently you have like a male version of Raven, which you usually don't get a race gender swap that goes that way. Yeah. But of course, it's still a tokenization because it's a gay version of male Raven. Which
I got you.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So you have all of these. They're doing all these gay versions of these, or non-binary, or different various non-straight versions of the character, and they're all existing in this one book. Marvel, on the other hand, is also doing it with this whole. They got trans mutant that they're introducing. Who we have to know the story of how she struggles to be a transgendered mutant.
Now, if you're a trans mutant, that should be an easy transition, right? Can't you just
here's the thing. Like they have all right, so modern era X-Men right now exist on their own like nation state. It's called Krakoa. This was right when I stopped reading like books. So this is like going into 2020. They now exist on this their own like island essentially. And so I think like 5, if I'm not mistaken, other like mutants can basically they have their own. I don't think Marvel thought this through because they don't understand continuity. But they on this island, 5 mutants are able to basically resurrect anybody. So they use these the psychic, like the Professor X and all those guys, where they can basically copy and paste onto an egg and combine all these other characters' powers, and they can basically resurrect anybody, so there's no consequence. So I was thinking about this, and other people were as well. Like, well, if that person wanted to be a dude or a girl in this case, I guess a dude wanted to be a girl because it's a transgender female, transgender woman, and they could just like resurrect themselves as a woman.
Yeah.
But that's not what's happening. See, Marvel didn't think that through. And the hilarious part of all this is that the character's power is that she can, with people that are within a vicinity of her, she could swap places with them. And I was like, so a power is basically being trans, if you think about it.
There you go.
Right?
That's my point. You get to be somebody else. Why don't you just do it?
That's basically your power. So I'm like, I don't think they actually thought this through from the continuity of the story as well as the powers that they gave this person. But all it does is signify how all in on social justice that both of those mainstream companies are. So you have like I know Tim Drake, Robin, who a lot of people know him at, he's now bisexual. So he's getting his own line where because he got to experiment with all of that. It's bad. But I brought this point up on my show this morning in that the current era of comic books are not writing stories for audiences that exist. They're writing stories for their peers and also audiences that they want to be a thing. Right. So this is why none of these books are really going to do anything. You get these people that are retweeted and stuff on Twitter, but they're not actual customers. Like, they don't even have capital. I'd argue that they broke. But that's the demographic that they're trying to pretend exists, but it doesn't. So yes, they're willing to sacrifice the modern era of comic book. Like every Wednesday, they go to the comic book shop. They're willing to sacrifice that audience for the sake of Biscuit agrees with me on this.
Biscuit knows what's
That's
up.
right. Biscuit knows what's up.
Go get a biscuit.
On this. I get it, right? Yeah, it's nonsense.
You're going to have to move. Stop being still.
It's total nonsense. See, Biscuit agrees that
Biscuit knows what's up.
It's out of control, and I agree with Biscuit on that.
People try to come in our studio. Biscuit don't mess around.
Yeah.
Sorry, Elizabeth. And politics runs downstream from culture.
All the
That's
time.
why this stuff matters.
That's why they do it.
You never heard Biscuit bark before.
No, today was the first time that I heard that dog make that sound.
Audible.
Very audible.
Good girl. Good girl. That's right. When women get too close to daddy, you bark. Hey, it finally happened. The Fed is realizing the dire straits our economy is in thanks to our loose monetary policy. Apparently, you can't just spend trillions every year with no repercussions. Now, to play catch up, the Fed's been raising rates and plans to do that 7 times this year. You're starting to see the ripple effects in the housing market as people buying power diminishes. I want you to consider, folks, what happens if the stock market what's going to happen to the stock market if the economy stalls out, and it probably is about to. Don't wait till that happens. Take some of your profits from the stock market right now, solidify them with gold from Birch Gold. Gold is what maintains its value throughout history better than any other investment in the world. Text CHAD, I spell it Chad, to 989898 for a free zero obligation info kit on holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account. Again, text Chad to 989898. That's 3 times. Secure the gains you've made while you can. Thousands of people happy with Birch Gold, and you will be too. A+ rated. Text Chad 989898. Protect your future with gold, and we'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. Let's get down to it for a minute. It's a historic and condemnable irony that the people most responsible for harming children in this country in so many ways have once again found an innovative way to do so. As you may or may not be aware at this point, we have a number of shortages going on throughout the United States at the moment. And perhaps chief in importance among those shortages right now is baby formula. Now, this is a bigger problem than it might seem like on the surface, because there's a lot of kids out there who desperately need it. Some babies can't thrive on breast milk. Some mothers can't breastfeed. There's a whole host of reasons, but formula is incredibly important, and unfortunately right now it's running very low. But guess what, folks? Just because you and I can't get a hold of it doesn't mean that nobody gets some. Not at all. Get this. A Florida lawmaker named Cammack came out last week and broke the news that pallets and pallets of formula are going down to the southern border to be given to illegals. Now, my head didn't explode the first time I read that, only because I wear a cowboy hat, but I can tell you that my blood started boiling. It really did. It pissed me off. Because I don't know what the hell's wrong with these people. It's like every morning, every member of the Biden administration gets together and tries to determine what's the dumbest, most anti-American thing they can do, and then they commit to doing that very thing. Cammack commented, and I happen to agree, this is what America last looks like. Now, let's explore this concept for just a minute, because I want you to understand in no way do I think that babies down at the border don't deserve some formula. I have no doubt that the left is going to spin this that way if the story breaks big enough for it to really make a splash in the media. Conservatives, they're going to say they hate migrant children. They want them to starve to death. It's going to run something like that. And the answer is a resounding no from me. So I'm sorry, lefties. I've been to other countries besides this one and put food in the mouths of people who were in dire straits. I've earned the ability to disagree with what you're doing here. But even if I hadn't, the simple fact is that caring about the needs pervading one's own country ahead of the needs of other countries is normal. And you're going to have to pay really close attention to get this. Listen up, lefties. It's even a sympathetic gesture in the direction of those less fortunate from the other lands, and here's why. When we care enough about fixing our own problems internally and then we actually do it, we make this land the place that it once was, a hotbed of opportunity and plenty, which overflows to such an extent that those in other countries benefit from that overflow. This coming out of our collective cup. You've heard me say many times, the light that shines the farthest away shines the brightest right at home. That's how it works, folks. You can't start externally and move inward. On a more personal note, let me say this. When November comes around, folks, there's an awful lot of things that I want you to remember as you move your happy ass through the voting line towards that magnificent ballot kiosk. Maybe chief among them is how the government, your government, not only didn't do a dadgum thing to prevent or fix a shortage on food that is vital to our youngest and most vulnerable members of the population, but in fact, they went above and beyond in the effort to toss up the middle finger at those kids by giving their food to other children from elsewhere. I got a feeling the reckoning is coming. We're working on a new... lack of better terms, a little comedy troupe. We're doing some sketch videos and stuff like that, and putting some stuff out there. Doing it with Sarah Gonzalez and nice. Cassidy Campbell and Alex Stein. And we did the first one, the inaugural videos about this baby shortage, dealing in baby formula. The baby formula shortage. Kind of doing a little drug deal. It's pretty funny stuff. But anyway. That'll be coming out pretty soon, this week actually. But this kind of thing, I read through this stuff and it's all ridiculous. We could talk about how many people on food stamps and WIC and all that stuff. They are supposed to be able to go get the baby formula. There's only 3 companies making baby formula, and they're all determined by what the government subsidies are there and stuff. I mean, you dig into this kind of thing deep. I can't believe we're talking about baby formula. But this is a friggin' mess.
Well, it's not the only, but you understand how prominent that it is. Obviously, when you're dealing with a vulnerable population that people care so much about, which they should, completely understandable. It has to be something like that for people to kind of start paying attention to it.
Yeah.
But this is an issue of government, and I'm not trying to say this as a cliche. It's just a reality. Like with what you just talked about, with it being only these few companies, and those few companies are the ones subsidized by the state, and all of that. The fact that there are leftists in this country that act like we have any semblance of what they deem as a free market is laughable. That's the problem, that it isn't one. Pretty much every major industry, especially in food, the government is involved in one way or another, but not just involved, they're prominent in terms of its involved. They're picking winners, they're picking losers in the process. And if you allow people to just act as they are and as they should be, as they, as a marketplace would, because of course the government is not suited to make decisions on behalf of, 300 something million people. They always think they can do. And you've seen the mistakes where that does happen. And that's where I fear that we're heading, where you end up like the USSR and you get famines and all of those sorts of issues. Those didn't happen just naturally, guys. Those happened because you had the state thinking that it could basically supersede economic reality, economic law, where they think that they could decide how much should be made for X amount of people, and they think that they could basically make those decisions. A handful of people can make decisions on behalf of millions upon millions of people. That's what gets you in the mess that you are in right now.
My friend CJ, my partner in crime, CJ with Deplorable Choir, you know, she posted a video. She got well over 1 million views on TikTok on this thing, just talking about how you got to find other ways to feed your baby, right? And she talked about some ways to do that. And sure as shit, Facebook fact checked her.
Of course.
I'm like, what are you fact checking? You have to feed your kid.
Yeah.
If there's no baby formula, you're telling me you can't discuss other ways to feed your kid, whether it's goat milk or, evaporated milk mixed with. I was like, what's the deal? You know.
Of course, they
just,
always
just
send their
stop
handlers,
feeding them. How about
right?
that? I mean, is that your plan? Just don't feed your baby.
Basically.
We live in a clown world, dude. And I mean, the fact that, look, between the abortion issue, the not feeding babies issue, you know, the mayor in New York City now has said there's no limits on abortion, which means let's come to that in the next segment, which is stupid, satanic, cultic. I mean, mind blown. Again, thankful for the cowboy hat, keep his brains in. But shit. And then they're going to groom your kids.
And they brag about it too.
I mean, look, here's the thing, folks. If I want to feed my kids, you can't fact check it. I can feed my kids whatever I want to feed them. And guess what? If I want to indoctrinate my kids, I can indoctrinate them however I want to. You, the teacher, you can't do it.
Well, that's why they're so pissed.
They are pissed.
You know, a lot of them are not childless and godless, by the way, but they don't understand if they don't give future generations, they have nothing.
Right.
They have absolutely
nothing.
nothing. So they like your kids are so precious to them. Yeah. And it's not that they genuinely care about it. It's no, they use the children to validate themselves in their own line of thinking. That's what it's more so about. It's not that they actually give a damn about their well-being. It's like they're like sponges. They're the perfect opportunity to make sure that the upcoming generation abides by the rules and standards that they themselves have. You are the biggest threat to them, and this is why among the various institutions that the state may be against, the one that they're against the most is the family, and it's because it is the last line of defense against them. And they know if they could somehow break that up, then they've won. Yeah. They always will roll out their academics, who really are their supreme indoctrinators, to validate their not only existence as the state, but they will try, you talked about fact checking and other various forms, they try to utilize these institutions to invalidate you as a member of said family. So it's the last line of defense, and they know that. Yeah. We got to go to a break. I want to talk some more about that. Trucker treats, you've heard me talk about them. They're good. In fact, I've started getting people sending me messages with pictures of their bags of trucker treats. People are loving them. Seasoned gourmet pretzels. I think I got some down here, actually. All the seasonings, the ingredients, even the packaging, the bags, everything. Made by a trucking family, and they give back to truckers as well. Customer-centered, personalized service, highest quality products. They got 6 incredible flavors to choose from. What do we got here? The Cool Ranch, these are good. The Dill Pickle, Bacon Cheeseburger. They even got the Candy Cane, which is seasonal, but if you call them, they'll give them to you. And I'm sure there's a flavor or two for you, and you're going to love it. This is good stuff. This is a great snack, and it's for a good cause. Go to truckertreats.net. Get 40% off with promo code CHAD. I spell it Chad. Truckertreats.net. Use promo code Chad. We'll be right back. Biscuit's back from saving the world. Welcome back, Biscuit. There you go. New York City Mayor Adams. What did he say? Play it.
Mayor Adams, do you think there should be any limitation on abortions?
No, I do not.
Non-day of birth, totally fine?
No, I do not think. I think women should have a right to choose their bodies. Men should not have that right to choose how women should treat their bodies.
Idiot. Just an idiot.
Autopilot. That's what it's called.
Autopilot.
Yeah, that's he's just saying a generic phrasing and the same old stuff that he's saying what he knows they want to hear.
Yeah,
that's really it. It doesn't, even if the position doesn't make any damn sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's just on autopilot. This is what they told me to say. He got the update. He's an NPC. Got the script update or the firmware update more so, and it's rolled out. And he is just saying whatever they want him to say.
Did you make me a flag?
I did, Chad. We talked about how Bill Maher had all this, amazing.
Yeah.
How do you like your new flag?
Look at that.
Is that something that?
What is that on the left?
What do you mean? What's that on the left? Those are boobs.
No, I see the peach.
And you don't see the boobs?
Oh, those are boobs?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Not of your liking?
What's the purple thing?
That's a shirt.
Oh, it's a shirt. Okay.
It's like cleavage.
Sorta. I think it needs work, Eric. those ain't no
That's
titties.
a starting point.
Ain't no titties I've ever seen. Digititties. Leave it. Speaking of titties, I'm going to be in Naples, Florida next week.
Like that
Those of you
segue.
remember a few years ago, the first time I ever did the show at Off the Hook Comedy Club, we went into the hotel and it had the stripper pole in the middle of the deal and mirrors everywhere, and it was a sex room. It had a little curved couch and had a diagram on the wall on different positions you could use the couch for. So that video, that was a live feed I did. That went crazy viral. Millions of people watched that thing. And so anyway, I'm coming back to Naples. That's why I say, speaking of titties, I will not be going back to the Spinnaker Hotel. I can tell you that. I itched for 2 days after walking through that thing. Good God. But information, watchchad.com. Going to be doing some other stuff. What all you got going on, Eric?
Man, dude, I've been busy as I don't know what. Everybody knows that, I'm starting my own comic book company, so it'll be launching soon enough. Don't have an exact date, but we're doing all the back end stuff, getting everything ready. Of course, it's being printed. But that's been in such my life, man. That's something I'm taking very seriously.
I can't wait.
And I can't wait to get it out, man. I think a lot of folks are going to be very impressed with what we got coming along the way.
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
Is it hard finding animators illustrators and?
Yeah, it is. Mainly because there's a lot of people, and you probably can feel me on this. A lot of people who think they're professional,
100%.
but they're
100%,
not.
yeah.
It is a different grade between being extremely good to the point to where you can make a living off of it, as a guy just thinks that he's okay at drawing something.
I every now and then I used to put things out, said we need graphic artists. We always are looking for graphic artists in my business, but I have people that send me stuff, and I'm like,
same thing.
No,
because that was my first thing that I did. I was like, hey, all right, we're getting it off the ground. I'm looking for a guy to do the interiors. And I would say 99% of the material that I got back was some people that just needed to be humbled. Like, they are not where they need to be. Thankfully, of course, we did find someone that's been around. I haven't announced them yet. Both of my colorist and the pencil and inker are both guys that have industry vets that wanted it on the project.
That's
so
awesome. Good deal. I can't wait.
I can't wait to get it out,
Can't
man.
wait. All right, hang tight. We'll be right back.
I've officially lived in Texas for 1 full year, and this is what I know. Ice melts quicker here, the sky is bigger here, the bugs are bigger here, there's more condensation here, and everything is always wet. The fall feels like summer, the spring feels like summer, the winter feels like summer, and the summer feels like hell. Male mosquitoes don't bite, but they do swarm.
Yeah. Mosquitoes are definitely bigger. I saw one trying to mate with a turkey one time, standing flat-footed. Gone, leave Texas.
Not wrong.
No, I was a solid assessment.
Yeah, not wrong.
Love it or leave it, baby.
Yeah.
WatchChad.com is where all the fun stuff is. And, of course, go to BlazeTV.com/Chad. Use promo code Chad. Save a little money on a deal. Be following, for Canon's sake. Tune into his YouTube. Subscribe, watch, learn, educate yourself. Eric July, thank you, my brother.
Appreciate you having me as always.
And we're going to be here tomorrow. Special guest, John Doyle. You don't want to miss it. Love you. God bless you. Talk to you then. Bye.